first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
And hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. We're live streaming here out of the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, and we appreciate you watching, whether that is on our website or our apps. I always recommend the apps because you can get notifications when we're live. You can also watch everything after the fact as well. Right now, though, we are talking about something that is on the mind of anybody who has traveled from Portland to Tillamook and vice versa, that Highway 6 roadway where there is currently an issue where one of the lanes is gone. There's construction on that. We're going to talk about that, but also about, just that highway in general, especially after we just had those atmospheric rivers come through, washed out part of the road. And this seems to be fairly consistent that some of those concerns do come up there on that highway. And we had the Washington County Commissioner who issued a state of emergency regarding this highway just the other day, 2 days ago. So we wanted to talk to the Oregon Department of Transportation just about, some of the concerns there and the construction right now as far as how that's going, and maybe some long-term solutions. We've got all those to discuss here. We've got Mindy joining us from the Oregon Department of Transportation. Always great to have you on here, so thank you for joining. And I think to start off, this section of that roadway, I know there's a few on there, but somewhere around mile 35, where we seem to have these issues every year. Can you talk to us just about, what some of the main reasons are, I guess, for why that stretch of roadway seems to always have so many problems?
So again, like you said, within these from these recent storms back on the 19th of December, one lane of this section of Highway 6, specifically around the milepost 35 section, slipped away. So it was a landslide underneath the road, and then further on later cracked. But these recent storms activate all of that water, really reactivates those known slide locations on Highway 6 specifically between Tillamook and Portland. There are about 14 to 18 different known slide locations just on that stretch of highway alone, not counting the over 4,000 that we monitor across all of Oregon. So yes, this sunken grade, which we are actively repairing right now, we had started that repair work and had limited that road to one lane of traffic. And then on last Sunday, on the 4th, we discovered in the lane of traffic that was open a pretty severe cracking starting on that lane. So we pretty quickly shut down that highway, it remained shut most of that day as crews created basically a temporary lane around the work being done, which got traffic back moving. And since that, we are working diligently on repairing not only the crack, but that sunken grade of that portion of the road. And
those atmospheric rivers, and all of that rain certainly aggravating those situations that are there. Is there something particular, just about that stretch of road where it seems to have more of a tendency for that kind of a situation? Is it the terrain that goes through there? What are some of the challenges that you face with that kind of a situation?
So yeah, it's very, very steep terrain across most of that OR6. And as we now know, it is a very historical slide zones in multiple locations in that area. And so, with the knowledge we have today, would we have put a highway where Highway 6 is? Probably not. But right, with everything, probably somewhere back in the early days, it was an old log trail or maybe even a covered wagon kind of trail from the valley to the coast, and it has now become our lovely Highway 6. And so we're having to manage where that highway is now and try to maintain traffic through that area.
And with all of those challenges, I would imagine that's pretty financially burdensome too, to have to be working on this every, almost every year, it seems like, and with big issues. Is there any kind of an idea of what a long-term solution could be to I guess, get over that?
I mean, like I said earlier, there's around 18 known slide locations along Highway 6. 14 of those are within like a 4 mile stretch near this specific area. And you just never know when a slide is gonna occur. So if we do the work and do this temporary repair, pretty good temporary repair now, in hopes that it kind of is a band-aid on the larger problem. But you never know where the next one's going to pop up. And so we are really looking at trying to estimate where we can put the limited funds we have to do the biggest bang for our buck. And right now, that just seems to be patching the areas and when they come up, because again, we don't know when they're going to come up and where they're going to come up on this specific stretch of highway. So yeah, most of this work is those emergency funds and is unfunded. And so we really need and have been working on developing a more long-term plan, and then, getting funding for that longer term plan. But it's a very complex situation.
And given that, as you mentioned, it's so you can't predict where these landslides are going to be, and depending on each year, how much precipitation we get. So totally understand how that would be difficult. Given the difficulties that are present on this road and seem to be there and will be there, would this a long-term solution be something like building a completely different road or a highway? Is that something that's even feasible?
I mean, when you look at cost effectiveness to build a completely new highway in a different area, I couldn't even estimate what that's going to cost, but we're probably into the billions, right? Just planning, the exploration that needs to take place when you're looking at seismic areas, the construction, the scoping, the design approach that has to be taken, and then also looking at the timing. All of these things also have to be done with, in the back of our mind, is keeping commerce moving. So I love to use this kind of example of, if you ask an engineer how long it's going to take him to build a bridge, he's going to say maybe 3 to 6 months. But then you add on that we have to keep traffic moving and we're not allowed to close the highway. And then he's like, oh, 3 to 6 years. So it's all of those things that we ask people to really put into perspective. Is we try to do the best work we can do with the money that we have and keep commerce moving through Oregon and keep these communities connected to each other. And that really is a struggle when you're looking at something this big.
Would there be any kind of a solution, like say if there was if funding wasn't an issue, which that's never going to be the case, but is there an engineering way to secure this road in that area where this would never be an issue? Or is it just this section where the terrain is, how that all is, these things are going to happen no matter what?
I mean, a little bit of both. I'm sure that if money wasn't a factor, like there's probably some kind of steel cage rebar situation. I don't know. I'm not an engineer. But the big fact is these are historical, ancient slide locations. And when you think of it like that, the amount of earth that looms above and below the roads, when Mother Nature wants to go, she's going to go. And these ancient slides are massive in comparison to what we think is a very big section of the highway. And it really is small potatoes when you look at those ancient slides. They're, a tenth of the size of this one. This is a tenth of the size of that ancient slide. So, yes, and it's a very complex problem that we have. And it's, like I said, there's over 4,000 known slide locations across all of Oregon, and all of our state highway systems, that this is one of many areas in which we really have to keep our eye on and keep monitoring.
When it comes to this particular repair, how long do you think it'll take on this, if there is an estimate?
I mean, there's a great estimate, and I say that it's an estimate because all of the work that we do is weather dependent. And right now, the forecast is looking a little bit more on the dry side, and we're really hoping for that. So we're hoping that this repair and the highway is back to a working order first week of February is our hope.
Is the hope, yep. And definitely understand that there's a lot of factors that go into that. Anything else that you think is important for people to know just about the work that's being done there? And as you mentioned, for commerce and tourism or even commuting for people on that highway, which is a pretty major one.
Yeah, we're just really thankful that the people are really heeding our warning signs and really paying attention to our workers and slowing down through this area. Like I said, the temporary road that was built in order to keep traffic moving through this area, we're having a pilot card lead traffic through, and it's about 5 miles per hour. So really factor that in. If this is the road and route you're going to need to take to get to where you're going, please factor in that extra time and slow down and be cautious, because these are our workers out there trying to get it back going, and we want to keep them safe.
Absolutely. Well, Mindy, thank you very much for joining us to talk about this and just walk through the situation out there, and I appreciate you having time to talk about it, and just filling everybody in. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
And for everybody watching, again, this is Fox 12 Now. We're live streaming here. This is what we get to do. We get to have these longer form conversations like that. So thanks for joining us. We're going to go ahead and sign off for right now, but we'll be back later. If there's breaking news, I'll have that for you as well, all right here on Fox 12 Now.